This is an annual event which is taking place, the CMA Excellence in Integrated Reporting Awards for the current year 2020. And of course, the exigencies of our times has made it necessary for us to make some adaptations or adjustments. So therefore, we have partially included a virtual experience, and we also have some physical presentations that will be in a particular location here in Colombo. But of course, this is international by virtue of so many people participating overseas. Now, integrated reporting is something that has had ever greater focus in the corporate and business world at this time. And in this past 5 years, we have been able to recognize that in this country of Sri Lanka too, there has been growing awareness and an adoption of those principles that really belong in what we refer to as integrated reporting, and there being a recognition that it is advantageous to be able to abide by such a discipline as required by integrated reporting standards. And around the world, this will be the same. Now, both quoted and unquoted, private as well as government organizations have increasingly been being part of this competitive program launched by CMA. So it's good to be able to mention too that there has been some difficulties this year. Now, I don't need to elaborate. You very well know the nature of the pandemic and how it has affected businesses. In the case of some of the organizations, they had to resort to virtual annual general meetings, and they have been able to prepare their accounts, and the final report, etc., might very well have had to be only in a soft copy form for reasons that were unavoidable. So it has been decided to carry on anyway with the program, the competition, the applications were made, and we have an eminent panel, including judges from overseas, experts in their particular fields, who were brought in to decide who the particular winners are, and we'll be happy to reveal the names of those winners and so on. So all quoted companies that come within the purview of the Colombo Stock Exchange, private companies, state-owned enterprises, banks, small and medium enterprises, NGOs as well, NPOs, have all been eligible, and they have taken note of this. And this year too, the Colombo Stock Exchange will collaborate with CMA in conducting this particular program. So let's proceed with inviting for some introductory remarks and words of welcome, Professor Lakshman R. Vatawala, who is the founder president of CMA Sri Lanka and also served as the chairman of the CMA Excellence in Integrated Reporting Awards Committee. Now, I don't think we need to spend too much time introducing Professor Vatawala, but we know that he has served vitally in the community of Sri Lanka, being as he is a fellow of the Institute of Chartered Accountants and having also served as president some years ago. He's a fellow of the Institute of Certified Management Accountants, fellow of the Chartered Institute of Management Accountants of the UK, and Chartered Global Management Accountants, that's CGMA as well. And for the work that he has done in the realm of education and building capacity amongst the people of Sri Lanka and in the realm of the accountancy profession, he has been recognized with a national honor such as Sri Lanka Sikhamani just a short while ago last year. So now let me invite your attention as Professor Lakshman R. Vatawala addresses this audience from here.
Good afternoon to all of you. I welcome you to the CMA Excellence in Integrated Reporting Awards 2020. So we have a very distinguished panel of speakers today, and also very distinguished panel of winners who will be really receiving their awards today. So let me welcome some of them. We have our keynote speaker, Mr. John Stanhope, the Deputy Chairman of the International Integrated Reporting Council. Our special guest of honor, President's Counsel, Virat Dayaratna, Chairman, Securities and Exchange Commission of Sri Lanka. Professor Mervyn King, Chair Emeritus of IIRC and GRI, and former Judge of the Supreme Court of South Africa. Mr. Ziaul Mustafa, the President, South Asian Federation of Accountants. Professor Ho Yu Ki, the Chairman of the Panel of Judges. Professor Graham Terry, the IIRC Ambassador and member of the Panel of Judges. Mr. Rajiv Bandaranaike, the Director General, Colombo Stock Exchange, and supporting partner of the CMA Excellence in Integrated Reporting Awards. And the members of the panel of judges, members of the panel of evaluators, award winners, and our Vice President, Mr. Hennayaka Bandara, who is present here today. So just to say a few words on this occasion, I think I wish to welcome all of you. And as you all know, the year 2020 has been a challenging year for all companies due to the COVID-19 pandemic, which has impacted all global economies in Sri Lanka. And we are fortunate to have, at the initial stages, controlled it, but now we have run into some difficulties with the second wave that is on. And for the companies, as you know, many companies and also countries are still impacted by the lockdown in the early stages, and now back to the new normal, taking all precautionary measures to halt the spread of the coronavirus. Due to the lockdown, companies started working from home, and technology played a major role where companies, local and global, have been badly affected due to the lockdown, and this has impacted economies worldwide. We have noticed that banks and other companies which ended their financial accounts for the year ended 31st December 2019 were able to go ahead with the normal activities, especially in the preparation of their annual reports, and some were able to have their AGMs before the lockdown began, while others did it virtually after the lockdown was removed. However, companies which closed their accounts as at 31st March 2020 had to undergo numerous hardships as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic and the lockdown. Despite these difficulties, credit must be given to the companies that have prepared their annual reports, mainly in soft copies. As a result, we decided to go ahead with the CMA Excellence in Integrated Reporting Awards, but taking into account the current situation where companies that have not printed the accounts could provide soft copies for the purpose of evaluation. We need to reward companies that have done well in integrated reporting, providing its stakeholders important information of the company, both in good and difficult times, and trust that they will come out stronger in the new normal. The IIRC, now in its 10th year, conducted a consultation webinar organized by CMA to provide members and quoted companies details of the revision to the IR framework that will be undertaken and to obtain our comments. While we are thankful to IIRC for organizing this event, we were also honored by the presence of Professor Mervyn King, Chair Emeritus of IIRC, who delivered the keynote address, and the three key areas of revision, responsibility, business model, and path forward. Over the past 5 years, we could witness an overwhelming number of companies, both quoted and unquoted, private and government institutions, applying for the CMA Excellence in Integrating Reporting Awards, showing that this awards competition is widely accepted by the business community. We are happy to note that Sri Lanka is in the forefront of integrated reporting in the Asian region and need to be recognized as it is doing it voluntarily. We are also proud to engage an eminent panel of judges who are all present here today, who are experts on integrated reporting, and they are backed by a competent technical evaluation panel who are our own members. This year too, the Colombo Stock Exchange will collaborate with us as a supporting partner, and we are indeed happy that Mr. Rajiva Bandaranaike, the Director General of the Colombo Stock Exchange, is present with us. As you all know, I also wish to make an important announcement at this Integrated Reporting Awards ceremony, and that is the merger of the International Integrated Reporting Council and the Sustainability Accounting Standards Board to form what is called the Value Reporting Foundation. Professor Mervyn King is a key player in this amalgamation, and we are indeed pleased that he has accepted our invitation to deliver the Integrated Reporting Distinguished Professional Address, and I'm sure that he will address this and tell us all about what is going to happen and how this new Value Reporting Foundation is going to help the companies and in the global scenario. We also have John Stanhope, the Deputy Chair of IIRC, and the two together have added much value to our Integrated Reporting Awards function today. The Value Reporting Foundation will provide investors and corporates with a comprehensive corporate reporting framework across the full range of enterprise value drivers and standards to drive global sustainability performance. And as you know, last year we had the Global Sustainability Framework where we had our conference and also joined with the awards. And I'm sure that what is happening today is something that we would really expect and also support. Today, I'm happy that the chairman of the Securities and Exchange Commission, President's Council, Mr. Viraj Jayaratne, and the Director General, Colombo Stock Exchange, and leading listed corporates are present to listen to the new developments in the field of integrated reporting and also for taking part in this competition. I must thank our judges, our evaluation panel, and the CMA Integrated Reporting Secretariat headed by Ms. Jinandi for providing outstanding services to conduct this event. I thank all participating companies, and we wish to congratulate all our award winners and wish the others to strive to win awards in the next year. I must thank the CMA Council and the staff for the support rendered, and of course, the event organizer, Mr. Rayus Vijayaratne, who has been working tirelessly to provide the virtual online facilities, also combined with the physical awards, making it a hybrid event. I'm confident that the CMA Excellence in Integrated Reporting Awards would be able to project the importance of value creation and that we will be able to take it further to introduce it to the public corporations and government sector to enable the society to know the value created by all these organizations. Thank you, and I wish you a very fruitful awards ceremony.
Thank you very much, Professor Lakshman R. Watawala. Well, interesting word, hybrid. Well, this is a hybrid event, but it does happen that Mr. Rajiva Bandaranaike is here with us in the flesh, as the saying might have it. And as has been mentioned, a vital involvement on the part of the Colombo Stock Exchange 13. and continues to serve as the Director General as well. So, Rajiv, over to you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. At the very outset, I would like to say how pleased we are at the Stock Exchange to be associated with CMA Sri Lanka once again in the annual CMA Excellence in Integrated Reporting Awards competition. We must congratulate CMA Sri Lanka for proceeding with the awards competition despite the difficulties and the lockdowns that we are experiencing, and despite the difficulties faced by companies in releasing their financial statements. And I think we should also congratulate the companies for rising to the occasion very well. It is important that companies go beyond financial reporting to a more holistic level on the performance, governance, and strategy of companies in a manner that it reflects the environmental and social impact of their operations. It is not only an obligation, but also a value addition for investors. Integrated reporting, as we know, is a powerful tool for building trust and confidence in companies, and we believe that a corresponding increase in company value. Increasingly, more and more institutional investors are demanding such holistic reporting formats from the companies that they invest in. Integrating reporting promotes and provides investors a holistic picture of a business that takes into account all of the 6 capitals of a business that uses to create value. So it builds trust and transparency and gives investors a full picture of all the elements of a business. The accounting fraternity, however, needs to take and make integrating report easy for investors to understand, and markets must evolve to make these integrated reports easily accessible in a comparable digital format for investors. Already, markets in South Africa and Brazil have made integrated reporting mandatory for listed companies, and the European Union has issued a directive encouraging large listed companies to use integrated reporting. SEBI, the Indian securities regulator, has announced that the largest 500 companies in India are encouraged to issue integrated reports in order to meet their new mandatory business responsibility report (BRR) requirements. It's not easy to convert from traditional reporting into integrated reporting, and this is a journey a company has to take and undertake, just as we did in our own organization. Presently, there are about 130 plus companies in the listed space that are adopting either full or partial integrated reporting formats with a high level of compliance from top conglomerates, banks, and finance companies. However, the opportunities outweigh the challenges and disadvantages of implementing integrated reporting. There would have to be more guidance, training, and awareness on integrated reporting for finance professionals and also for the leadership in the corporate sector. I believe there are challenges faced by Sri Lankan companies. In this regard, one issue I believe is that companies are called upon to fulfill mandatory reporting requirements imposed by different regulators, the central bank, the SEC, SLAS-MB, the CSC, the Insurance Board of Sri Lanka, etc. What we would advocate is to have one code or one standard for companies to follow. If we achieve this level of regulatory harmony, it will no doubt make reporting easier for companies and may encourage more companies to concentrate on converting their reports to an integrated format and to provide concise reporting. This in turn would translate into easier understanding of financial reports by Sri Lankan investors. In a recent article published by 4 authors from the Department of Accounting of the University of Sri Rajadanapura following a study. It talks of the importance of improving integrated reporting as a tool to enhance the value relevance of accounting information reported by companies for capital market development. While this is a positive impact, it highlights that more policy initiatives are needed to improve the penetration of integrated reporting in the capital market in terms of enhancing the awareness of investors as well as equity analysts and bringing integrated reporting information to the forefront of corporate reporting guidelines of the SEC and the CSC. The article further talks about standard setters such as International Integrated Reporting Council, the IIRC, that can identify the extent to which integrated reporting can achieve their expectations in meeting the needs of investors and other financial capital providers on the value creation of firms from a broad perspective. In this respect, the International Integrated Reporting Council or IIRC can facilitate policy initiatives of countries for strengthening integrated reporting penetration in capital markets and building a supportive capital market culture. Thus, the study talks about how integrated reporting can better enable investors understand the mechanism through which the value relevance of corporate disclosures can facilitate their decision-making process. This will help investors to consider both financial and non-finance information when decisions are made by them to invest, hold, or divest their funds in a listed company. Thus, the value relevance of integrated reporting will lead the management of companies to integrate shareholder wealth maximization and stakeholder management motivated by long-term value creation for sustainability. This will enable Sri Lankan companies to avoid focusing on short-term financial performance at the expense of long-term creation for shareholders. Many organizations and associations are actively engaged in promoting integrated reporting in Sri Lanka, and we commend CMA Sri Lanka for this initiative for the 6th consecutive year to recognize Sri Lankan corporates that have adopted integrated reporting and to encourage those who have not done so to do so. I wish this event all success. Thank you.
Thank you too, Rajiva, for providing us an excellent rationale for abiding with what we refer to as integrated reporting. Not least, the investors would prefer that corporates do exactly that. And exhortation was offered to the accountancy profession that they would take this a little more seriously and then proceed with encouraging those corporates and companies and agencies that they work with, that they too now come on board with integrated reporting of their material at the end of their financial year. Now, we said hybrid, and indeed, our next speaker is joining us remotely. Perhaps as a preface, I would need to say that CMA is linked with the South Asian Federation of Accountants as well. And on this occasion, we are very pleased to have with us, or rather joining with us for these awards, the president of SAFA. And he also serves as the president of the Institute of Cost and Management Accountants of Pakistan, and he serves in the current period. And also he has done much with CAPA, that's CAPA, the Confederation of Asian and Pacific Accountants as well, so he's got wide experience. And joining us is Mr. Zia-ul Mustafa from Pakistan.
Thank you, sir. Professor Lakshman Vatavara, founder, president, CMA Sri Lanka, and the chairman of CMA Excellence in Integrated Reporting Awards 2020. Professor Herth, Member of Parliament and Chairman Committee of Public Enterprises, Mr. Rajiv, Director General, Colombo Stock Exchange, Professor Marvin King, Chair of International Integrated Reporting Council, Mr. John, Deputy Chairman, International Integrated Reporting Council, Mr. Viraj, Chairman, Securities Exchange Commission of Sri Lanka, Professor Hou Yi Ki, Chairman, Securities Exchange Commission of Sri Lanka, Mr. Professor Hou Yi Ki, Chairman, Panel Judge, CMA Excellence in Integrated Reporting Awards 2020, Professor Graham Terry, he is the Professor of Practice, University of Johannesburg, and Mr. Bandara, Vice President of CMA Sri Lanka, and the upcoming Vice President of South Asian Federation of Accountants as well. Learned speakers, audience, good afternoon as per my time zone. First of all, I am thankful to Professor Lakshman Vatawala for inviting me for this today's CMA Excellence Award in Integrated Reporting for the year 2020. CMA Sri Lanka is an active member of South Asian Federation of Accountants and doing a commendable job in promoting the profession of management accountancy, not in Sri Lanka and SAFA, but also internationally. It is also a member of IFAC and CAFA and playing their active role on all these forums. So I must appreciate the efforts of Mr. Lakshman Vatawala for taking the efforts to promote integrated reporting in Sri Lanka, and holding this award ceremony is a step in this direction. I congratulate all those companies who will be receiving the CMA Excellence in the Integrated Reporting Awards 2020 in different categories and sectors. I do hope that they will continue to improve their disclosures in the financial statements and contribute their part in the corporate development in Sri Lanka. I would like to especially appreciate these companies that despite the COVID pandemic, they prepared the integrated reports and now taking part in the competition arranged by CMA Sri Lanka. I would like to add here that South Asian Federation of Accountants, which is known as SAFA, also organized SFA Best Presented Annual Reports Award, which is considered as the most prestigious award for financial reporting in South Asian region. In the region, we have achieved excellence in presentation and disclosure of high quality, relevant, reliable, and objective financial statements in accordance with the international framework. SAFA has been organizing Best Presented Report Award since 1997 in various categories, including banking sector, financial sector, communication and information technology sector, NGOs, NPOs, and similar industries like that. In addition, SAFA has also initiated SAG Anniversary Award for Corporate Governance Disclosure since 2006 and Integrated Reporting Award since 2015. In 2019, SAFA Integrated Reporting Award was won by John Kelly Holding PLC, and first runner was Diesel and Motor Engineering PLC. And the second runner was the Commercial Bank of Ceylon PLC. So we are promoting integrated reporting at SAFA platform, and CMA Sri Lanka is also the part of SAFA and very active part of SAFA, and we appreciate that today they are organizing this integrated reporting award and with the support and guidance of International Integrated Reporting Council. With these remarks, I once again thank the organizer for inviting me at the webinar. Stay blessed, stay safe. Thank you very much.
Thank you too, Mr. Mustafa. We appreciate your participation with us. Our next speaker is also a distinguished professional and will be connecting with us remotely from a different part of the globe. Yeah. Now, Professor Mervyn King has been vitally involved in this subject of integrated reporting. And he's the chair emeritus of the International Integrated Reporting Council, which has been mentioned a few times now, IIRC, located in London, and the Global Reporting Initiative, or the GRI, in Amsterdam. And Professor King has previously served in the Supreme Court as a judge of the Supreme Court of South Africa. And of course, he continues to be vitally involved with this realm of activity. And we would like very much to invite your attention as Professor Mervyn King addresses this audience.
Thank you very much for the invitation, and I'm very pleased to be back with the CMA Awards. And I want to congratulate all the winners and CMA for providing recognition for those who have endeavored to do integrated reports following the guiding principles and the content elements contained in the IR framework. I want to talk to you about where we've come from and where we are to really understand the situation in regard to integrated reporting. Towards the end of the 20th century, Research House Ocean Toma did an analysis of the S&P 500 shares and found that only about 20% of the market cap of those companies was represented as additives in a balance sheet according to financial reporting standards. The result was that 80% was not being accounted for in annual reports, because you will remember the days when an annual report consisted of an AFS duly audited according to ISAs. The Global Reporting Initiative, in consequence, was founded in 1997 to try and give some guidance to preparers as to how to deal with this 80% of value. At the beginning of this century, I was appointed chairman of the United Nations on Governance and Oversight. And it was in that position that IFAC, the International Federation of Accountants, called for a meeting at the United Nations. It was then under Chatham House rules, but now a matter of public knowledge, that because of this makeup of the market cap of companies, IFAC was concerned that an annual report consisting of an AFS, according to IFRS standards or US GAAP, it didn't matter, was not resulting in a board of directors discharging its duty of accountability. The words used was financial reporting is critical, but it's no longer sufficient for a board to discharge its duty of accountability. The result was companies started reporting in two silos, financial report and a sustainability report, following the GRI, then guidelines, now standards. I argued that this kind of reporting was divorced from reality operationally, because no company operates on a basis that financial capital is separated from human capital or intellectual capital, natural capital, etc. And all this led to discussions and over a few years, and then the founding of the International Integrated Reporting Council, which started in 2008, but officially founded in 2010. We've got our 10th anniversary. And the IR framework developed a value creation model. So we moved from the model that had persisted from the middle of the 19th century of looking at profit and success having three criteria: increased profit, increased dividends, increased share price. The company was successful. Even though, as we now know, that bottom line profit was being subsidized by society and the environment. and we had the 20th century a century of unsustainable development. The IR model moved companies away from this profit at any cost to a value creation model. What were the inputs into the company for its activities to produce its product or render its service, its output? And when the product went out into society, what were the impacts of that product on the three critical dimensions for sustainable development: the economy, society, and the environment? And what were the outcomes of those impacts? And so the area of sustainability reporting, reflected in the makeup of the market cap of companies, started taking on a greater importance than the financial report itself. But of course, without the financial report, the sustainability report would be quite meaningless. But the importance of this is that many framework providers started joining the space occupied solely by GRI on sustainability reporting, or as it's now called, the ESG space: environmental, social, and governance. This led to clutter and confusion in the ESG space, both for preparers and for users. At the IRC, we formed the corporate reporting dialogue to try and get these framework providers together to try and talk about convergence and harmonization of their standards. It was working to a certain extent, but progress was very slow. In March last year at an IRC international conference, I made a speech, and I took the opportunity because the executives of the GRI, SASB, Sustainability Accountancy Standards Board, other framework providers, and asset owners and asset managers were at the international IRC international conference. And I said it was a social outrage that these framework providers saw themselves as competitors rather than being collaborators, because they were dealing with public interest issues and all had the same public good outcome and were all being funded from the same social pond. The CRD, and I'm told by people involved in these various organizations, that my speech galvanized people into thinking it is correct. We should actually be following SDG 17 and collaborate and try and harmonize. And really, we should try and simplify this confusion and get one standard of sustainability reporting. The consequence was this last 9 months has seen huge movement in this space. The World Economic Forum, with the big four accounting firms, has issued metrics consisting about 70% of the metrics as GRI standards, which shows the accumulated knowledge of GRI reporting. The International Federation of Accountants issued a statement saying that they believed an International Sustainability Standards Board dealing with value creation should be established parallel to the IASB under the IFRS umbrella. The European Commission task force started looking at redesigning their directives on so-called non-financial reporting. The group of five, as they've become known, the IRC, the GRI, SASB, the Carbon Disclosure Sustainable Board, and the Carbon Disclosure Project, came together in a document a few months ago saying they're going to work together, collaborate, to try and harmonize these standards, to try and develop value reporting. The Financial Reporting Council of the United Kingdom said only about 6 weeks ago that reporting in future in the United Kingdom of companies should be in three sections: financial, business, and public interest issues. And they should seek guidance from the SASB standards, Sustainability Accountancy Standards Board. Oscar said to have sustainable finance, one has to take account of the ESG factors. The IFRS Foundation itself, 6 weeks ago, issued a consultation paper asking the question, should they expand their mandate and should they form an international sustainability standards board? Well, that consultation paper, the responses closes at the end of this month, the 31st of December, which is 10 days away. There are already a few hundred responses, including one from me personally, because of the various hats I wear. I didn't want to make a submission under any of those hats on. So I made a personal submission. The IASB, as you will all know, many of you in the room, most of you are accountants, has a conceptual framework to focus on information needed for financial statements. In other words, the standards, mature as they are, full of rigor, have had to fit into these concepts in order to get consistency. By fitting into these concepts, they've also become more useful to users such as investors, providers of financial capital, lenders of money, providers of credit. So the IFRS, there's great favor amongst all these famous bodies I've mentioned that IFRS should expand its mandate and there should be the establishment of an ISSB. And they should change their name to International Reporting Standards Foundation. So move away just from financial. Like the conceptual frameworks for financial reporting, new conceptual frameworks need to be established for the SSB because we are now in a value creation mode. And we're looking holistically as to whether a company or an organization is actually adding value to society. It's no longer simply saying a profit has been made. The question is, has this organization actually added value to society? So a conceptual framework of the SSB would require disclosure of information, providing insight into the drivers of long-term value creation. This collaboration and this clarion call for the establishment of a sustainability standards board has resulted in the merger of SASB and the IIRC. So you have the Sustainability Accountancy Standards Board, which is focused on 77 industries, but looked at sustainability issues which are pertinent for investors, or as we say in the IR framework, providers of financial capital. And the SASB standards are industry specific and identify risks and opportunities most likely to affect a company's financial condition, its operating performance, or its risk profile. The GRI standards, on the other hand, deal with economic, environment, and social impacts of a company, and hence its contributions, positive or effective, towards sustainable development. The group of five have only a few days ago issued a statement trying to show how the five of them working together with TCFD can actually harmonize these standards and have a value creation model which will provide insights into the drivers for long-term value creation. So what we're having is sustainable disclosure, disclosure of sustainable matters which create or erode value creation. And that's what the Value Reporting Foundation is focusing on. But there still has to be a connection. I'm going to assume for the moment, that the Sustainability Standards Board will be created because there's such a clarion call for it now, and remove the clutter and confusion which we experienced over the last few years. And at the heart of all this is integrated thinking, that symphony between the resources used by a company and the relationships with its stakeholders. The board is the most informed body of persons, and the board is the most informed body of persons who should spend more time understanding the financial and the value creation disclosures and the sustainability issues as set out in the GRI standards. The importance of connecting the financial and the value creation standards is absolutely critical. And so integrated reporting or integrated thinking and doing an integrated report is taking on greater and greater importance. This has been evidenced by the board of the IRC itself, appointing Michael Bray, a member of the board who resigned from the board a few weeks ago, in order to join the management team of the IRC to strengthen the IR committees which have been established internationally around the globe. And integrated reporting will take on a greater significance. Let me just conclude by saying this, that many of you will know that I wrote a book in 2016 in which I said that the accountant of today can save the planet. And I called him or her the Chief Value Officer. The thesis of my book was, no accountant worth his or her salt today just sits in a corner office drafting an AFS for consideration by the audit committee. He or she, and I know this from being in C-suites as an advisor, is the true change maker in that C-suite on this value creation process, which is so critical in our resource-constrained world. And so my university, I'm a professor at the Wits Business School, it's my alma mater, and working with the School of Accountancy there from the beginning of next year, we have launched an accreditation course for chartered accountants to become chief value officers and to get the status eventually through the bureaucracy of qualifications, chartered value officer. Let me just conclude by saying that I am delighted that major headhunters today are advertising for chief value officers. So this change in the movement from profit to value creation is also changing the education of the accountants of today and tomorrow to be a multidisciplinary occupation and a true advisor and change maker in the C-suite. Thank you very much for listening to me.
Thank you too, Professor King. So we've had it mentioned that sustainability can very much be tied in with integrated reporting. And there is a bringing in not only merely sustainability, but also value creation for organizations that are focused in the appropriate way. And so the educational, or should we say the qualifications also now need to recognize these developments. And it was good to have you mention that and underscore such value. It's time now for the sounding of the keynote. But before the keynote, we have a proper introduction of the keynote speaker. And joining us again remotely from down under in Australia is the Associate Professor Lakmika Prera. And he's a Director of Education at the Center for Integrated Reporting Faculty of Business and Law with Deakin University in Melbourne, Victoria. That's in Australia. So let me hand the proceedings over to Lakmika, and he will introduce our keynote speaker.
Thank you very much, Arun. It is my great pleasure and honor to introduce the keynote speaker, Mr. John Stanhope, member of the Order of Australia. Mr. John Stanhope has extensive experience in governance, finance, accounting, and business strategy. He was the chairman of the Australia Post from 2012 to 2019, chief financial officer and group managing director, finance and administration with Telstra Corporation, which is one of the largest government-owned telecommunication organizations in Australia from 2003 to 2011, and was executive director of Telstra from 2009 to 2011. From 2006 to 2012, John was a member of the Financial Reporting Council, the peak government body responsible for overseeing the effectiveness of the financial reporting framework in Australia, and remains involved in corporate reporting improvements. John is chairman of the Port of Melbourne Authority and a non-executive director of AGL Energy Limited, a large energy provider in Australia. John has undertaken studies at Deakin University and Stanford University. He's a fellow of the Institute of Company Directors, CP Australia and Institute of Chartered Accountants, the Institute of Managers and Leaders, and the Human Resource Management Institute. In 2014, John was awarded Deakin Alumni Lifetime Achievement Award. In 2016, he was made a member of the Order of Australia for the significant services to the financial and national communication sector through a range of leadership roles. He's also the Chancellor of Deakin University and the Chair of the Advisory Board of the Deakin IR Centre. As mentioned, he's Vice Chairman of the International Integrated Reporting Council and contributed immensely to promoting integrated reporting in Australia and globally. Welcome, John Stanhope.
Lakmika, thank you very much for that introduction. And let me just acknowledge some distinguished people on the call. Of course, Professor Lakshman Wadawala, and of course, the Director General of Colombo Stock Exchange, Rajiva, and the Chairman of the panel of judges, Professor Ho Yu Ki, and the Technical Advisor, Professor Graham Terry. And of course, someone who I've known and respected and highly regarded for a long time, Professor Mervyn King, and Zair Al-Mustaf, who spoke earlier. And I've missed anybody, I apologise. We have many distinguished people as part of this. I want to thank you for the invitation to speak with you or to you today. Probably wearing four hats. You heard a bit of my background from Lakmika. So the four hats, I guess, is Chancellor of a university where the education of management accountants and financial experts, people who join organisations, as Mervyn has described them, they now are value creating people. If they don't understand that, they need to understand how value is destroyed. But of course, value is created or destroyed in many ways, and it's not just financial. It can be your value can be impacted by how you treat customers, how you treat suppliers, how you treat the environment, whether you have a social license to operate is very much at the root of whether you are able to or allowed to, in fact, create value or keep the value that you've already created. And I'm very passionate about the Deakin Integrated Reporting Centre, because what we're trying to do at that centre is take people who are studying business and show them how important integrated reporting is and integrated thinking is. So when they leave the university, they're able to go into the business world and explain why integrated reporting is so important to all the stakeholders that touch and are touched by an organisation. So that centre is fairly new. so whilst it all teaches, it also is undertaking research into, so we all talk about integrated reporting and we all talk about how good it is and we believe in it, but evidence-based research is very important. And the centre has a task also to research into those that have used it, prepared it, integrated reports I'm talking about now, and those and what value it brings inside a company and what value it brings to all the stakeholders that are touched by an integrated report. And by the way, those who aren't, because part of evidentiary evidence of the value of integrated reporting and thinking is to show those that aren't convinced by it that they should adopt it. And of course, Mervyn has spoken a lot about the background of the IIRC, and as co-vice chair, I am very supportive of the merger of the IIRC and SASB, and I'll talk just a little bit about that because, but not much, because Mervyn has very adequately touched on that. So, and of course, I'm going to bring a little bit of perspective from a board director. I'm on 5 boards at the moment, and I chair 4 of those boards, and I can give a little bit of a non-executive director perspective. I just wanted to thank Professor Mervyn King again for his inspiring words and of course what he's done over the 10 years in driving integrated reporting globally. I know, Mervyn, you are much appreciated around the world and by many for what you've done. Look, I'd also like to congratulate the Institute of Certified Management Accountants in Sri Lanka for having these awards, because it's also very important that something like these awards occur, because it encourages adoption, and those who have adopted it encourages improvement, and we all can always improve. So I congratulate you on having this awards ceremony. Really, on behalf of Deakin University and the Centre for Integrated Reporting, I'm really here representing them. It's great to join you and your many members and your nominees today. One of the things that Lakmika didn't mention, and he probably doesn't know, is that I was the inaugural Institute of Certified Management Accountants entrance to the Hall of Fame. And I'm not saying that to boast at all, I'm saying it to indicate to you that I've spent a lot of time around and being a management accountant. So whilst a chartered accountant and a CPA in Australia, I spent most of my life actually doing management accounting. And in fact, as CFO of Telstra, I recall, I was thinking about it as I was listening to others talk. I had 20 people who, accountants who were working on the financial or the statutory accounts, if you like, the financial accounts, but I had many more management accountants. And management accounting is very important. And it's a bit of a misnomer, because what management accountants do, we happen to call them management accountants, is really report on many aspects of the business, not just the financial aspects of the business. And maybe I'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. But as the end of a particularly challenging year approaches, it's an ideal time to just reflect and formally acknowledge the achievements of those who are part of the award ceremony today, and of course, many achievements that have occurred through, in many places, in very difficult circumstances during 2020. And of course, we need to look forward to the opportunities of the new year with hope and that things will change, and I'm sure they will. I do have to acknowledge the pivotal role that each of you have played in inspiring and positioning Sri Lanka as not only one of the emerging, but indeed a leading country in global terms for adopting integrated reporting. And as it was said earlier, on a non-mandatory basis. So well done. It's quite inspiring. Today, of course, it is about the nominees and the award winners, but it's important to consider Sri Lanka's rapid progress in the global IR context. 27 organisations from 11 countries participated in a pilot IR project. And Sri Lanka was one of the first. And this is a credit to the IR movement in Sri Lanka. In more recent years, the number of companies that have adopted some form of integrated reporting, and I heard it said just before, some fully, some partially. But that number has steadily increased and is now, I understand, closing in on about 100 companies based on the Colombo Stock Exchange. So well done. That is really leading the way. In recent, and of course supporting Sri Lanka's rapid progress, and at an international level, there continues to be a significant shift towards the convergence of the global corporate system, including what you just heard from Mervyn, consultation by the IFRS Foundation trustees on sustainability standards setting, and the announcement that Mervyn referenced, the proposed merger of the IIRC and SASB into what I think is very aptly named the Value Reporting Foundation. This is a very important step. As a preparer, as a board director, the frustrations that Mervyn touched on are certainly in the boardroom when continual reporting requirements from various bodies land on the table of a board. There is a lot of frustration with how many reports do we have to do? How many metrics do we have to have? How much duplication do we have to do? And it's very, very frustrating. And as Mervyn outlined, that frustration over the last few years has been building and building. And we saw it, as Mervyn said, the corporate dialogue, a reporting dialogue was established to try and deal with this. And certainly it recognised the problem in spades. And so this step of merging IIRC and SASB merging is going to help the frustrations of board directors significantly. Of course, you know, it is in my mind and in the mind of many a first step. And we believe at IIRC that the integrated reporting framework is the framework that should be used to bring all this together, because it, at its very heart, is the recognition of all the things that need to be recognised that either create or, if they're not paid attention to, destroy value. So what's happened and it's happened quite quickly, and it's happened because of the level of frustration that has built over the last few years. And SASB and GRI also coming together to consolidate, rationalise, call it what you like, the number of metrics and so on, what are the right metrics, etc., is also a step in the right direction. So I'm very pleased that with this merger and with what's going on with SASB and GRI, and now the IFRS Foundation consulting on whether they should have a role. All these things are leading us to what I believe in the right direction, which is a global corporate reporting system that is simplified. People will want to adopt because they're not confused by the many options that they have. So I think that's we're all heading in the right direction, and of course I hope you all support that. Let me just go from the global for a minute to the local. It is crucial that we continue to define and explore both the opportunities and challenges that integrating reporting presents for cost accountants and management accountants. You heard me just say before, my recognition of the role of management accountants. I really believe that management accountants, and by the way, don't get me wrong, you do have to have the support of your CFO, and maybe one day all the CFOs move and are called chief value officers, because that's what they're there to do. And I agree with what Mervin's talking about and what he's trying to promote, and what he is promoting. He's not trying; he is promoting. But management accountants, because of this role that I described, when you think about the reports that go to a board, those reports are usually prepared by management accountants who do analysis of what's going on in the business, and they don't do it just on financials. Remember, I don't know how old balanced scorecards are now, but they've been around a long time. But a balanced scorecard is looking at far more things than financials. And management accountants have always been at the heart of the preparation and the analysis and the reporting to a board that is far broader than just financial reporting. So I believe still, as I have for many years, that management accountants can and should and will drive integrated reporting. I think it's what they do. It should be at the heart of what they do. And they now have a very, very good framework to follow. I guess what we say to our Deakin students is that management accounting is far more important to integrated reporting than financial accounting. That before all the financial accountants jump all over me, of course we still have to have financial accounting. We've got to have measurement of how we measure assets and how we measure impairment, and how we have to have all those things. But we also have to have an integrated report, and we have to have more than just financials. Financial implications, certainly, but got to have more than just statutory financials. And by the way, when I went around as a CFO and I talked to investors, not many of them read the statutory financial reports, but they read about what was going on in the business. Now, I would argue that even that wasn't terribly good, but if they're reading an integrated report, they'll find out the business model, they'll find out the risks, they will find out how all the stakeholders, all the capitals, as we call it inside the integrated framework, are being addressed. I just wanted to touch on my experience as a director of an energy company in Australia. It is a listed company, and not surprisingly, I'm not the chair of that. That's the one I'm not the chair of, but I am chair of the Audit and Risk Committee of that energy company, and not surprisingly, I persuaded them, the board and the management team, that maybe integrated reporting is the way we should go. And of course, the first reaction, or not of course, it was the first reaction that was that, oh no, not another report, which takes me back to all the things I just said before. And I was persuaded them that an integrated report gives them the opportunity to reduce complexity. And if it's a true integrated report, it can reduce the number of reports and be far, far more useful for the users. And at the end of the day, you know, our job as management accountants inside corporations is to make sure that what we're telling the reader of the reports is actually useful to them. When I was a CFO, many of the people, investors I went to see, was they say, well, we didn't read all that. Why not? Well, we waited for you to come to tell us what's really happening. That's a terrible situation. So an integrated report done well tells, my experiences is that it tells the users what they want to know. And by the way, if it doesn't, we talk to them and we make sure it does. And that's the improvement that I'm talking about we can always make. So in this energy company, they spent a full 6 months planning to move from how they reported to integrated reporting. And so why did they take so long? Why were they so thorough? They really did want to meet the objective that they weren't creating another overlay report, and nor were they just consolidating a whole lot of reports. I mean, that just meant it was thicker. It didn't mean it was more informative, and nor did it make it, nor would it make it easier to read. So there was a lot of work done to make sure that the principles of integrated reporting were adopted, but also that it was truly an integrated report, and there were a number of reports stopped or incorporated in some way, I should say, and that occurred. Of course, in an energy company where sustainability is a focus, and what the company is doing about improving climate and their emissions is very important. So it is an emphasis, of course, in the report. But what I also emphasise to the management team is that we can't forget the rest of the stakeholders. Yes, the environment's important, and unless we do the right things, people that will be value destroyed if we are not being seen and actually transitioning well to a clean energy environment. So that part of the report happens to be a little larger than the rest, but that's okay, because every industry and every company will, the emphasis will change over time depending on where they are in their business cycle and what's important to the stakeholders at the time. So it's been an interesting experience, and we are just about to enter a strategic thinking time, and we're very focused on making that integrated thinking. And where should the business go next? Should we tweak the strategy? And I can tell you, integrated thinking and integrated reporting, and the two go together, of course, has given the board and the management team a far greater understanding of the business. So the understanding inside the business through using integrated thinking is far better than it ever was. And you ought to be doing the integrated thinking up front. And the integrated report is the outcome of good integrated thinking, because what you're doing is, hopefully, is reporting on what your business model and so on, and the risks that you understand your reporting on the thinking you've already done about those things. So it's been a very, very interesting ride for me because I've been a preparer. I've been on the boards that have adopted it, and I've seen the change in organisations that have occurred. And I would say that we are in Australia still in the infancy of good integrated thinking. And we're probably, integrated reporting is driving the integrated thinking, but so what? I would say that's a good thing that's happening, and it's got businesses thinking very much about where value comes from, where is value created, how can we continue to create long-term value. And just as much, if you don't pay attention to the environment and transitioning away from the old fuels, etc., you will destroy value. You won't be able to go to banks to borrow. You shareholders won't be interested in having their shares in your business. So it is value destroying if you don't pay attention to these things. So at each of the organisations I'm at and have been director of, I've led the adoption of integrated reporting, and I've just described some of the business benefits. They are both internal to the business, but of course, as we are now in, I think, our third integrated reporting in the energy company, and by the way, the university's got an integrated report as well. So I think we were one of the first universities to have an integrated report. And in each of the organisations I'm associated with, we've learned more about it, and and the people who are our stakeholders have learned far much more about the organisation itself. So the bottom line, really, it is all about better and more useful information for all the stakeholders of a business. I heard you say, or somebody say earlier, that the adoption in Sri Lanka is not mandatory, and it's not mandatory in Australia either. We do have some what we call the ASX corporate governance guidelines, and of course, as part of them, integrated reporting is referenced in those guidelines as a means to have a more appropriate management disclosure or management discussion with your stakeholders. I guess we would like those of us who are strong promoters of integrated reporting, we'd love it to be mandatory. But adoption in Australia is going quite well, and people are realising the benefits. And I spend a lot of my time, as do others in Australia, and some of the names were mentioned, making sure people understand the advantages. I guess in my capacity as the vice co-chair, or co-vice chair, I should say, I do note the importance of Sri Lanka's efforts and the progress to and with the global integrated reporting movement. The IIRC is prepared and stands ready to work closely with Sri Lanka as it develops further momentum for integrated reporting. And of course, I hope Sri Lanka is also very supportive of the action that's being taken now in the merger and the move to a comprehensive or a global corporate reporting system. I think we've still got work to do on assurance. So as more and more non-financial metrics get adopted in integrated reports, assurance is on the minds of directors, not surprisingly. And there will be, today, as you all know, there's limited assurance is offered. And we've got to pay attention to that, and we've got to improve in that area. And I know there's many people working on that, but that will need support over time as well. Again, look, I congratulate you on these awards. As I said, I think it's tremendously encouraging for people who adopt integrated reporting, and again, also encouraging for improvement. And I also congratulate those acknowledged and recognised with awards and nominations today. I wish you all the very best for your conversations today, and of course, for a safe, healthy, and productive new year. And once again, thank you for the invitation to speak here today. Thanks.
Thank you too, John. We appreciate very much all of what you had to share with us. Your advocacy of a globally recognized reporting system was clearly heard. And it was interesting also to hear that before integrated reporting comes integrated thinking. And that's something that is to be fostered. And it was good to have heard that there was a learning curve with the energy company that you referred to. So yes, things take a little time. And certainly Sri Lanka has yet to make it mandatory for integrated reporting in this country. And we find, as you say, in Australia too, they haven't yet moved to that degree, but let's see how things turn out. We have the privilege now of hearing from the chairman of the Securities and Exchange Commission of Sri Lanka, and he's located here with us. His background is in the law. He has 28 years of experience with the Attorney General's Department, and since 2 years ago, has been a President's Counsel, and now he's here in his capacity as chairman of the Securities and Exchange Commission. Stiviraj Taratna.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Firstly, let me thank Professor Vatavala, President of CMA, and the CMA for inviting me for the CMA Excellence in Integrated Reporting Awards 2020. The the CMA Sri Lanka is a professional body for management accountants and has played a key role in promoting the study of management accountancy in Sri Lanka. It has established management accountancy standards and has encouraged the application of proper principles, techniques, and practices in the field of management accountancy. CMA has over the years made a significant contribution to the fields of industries, commerce, education, finance, public service, and information technology. The Excellence in Integrated Reporting Awards, the competition has been conducted by CMA Sri Lanka for a consecutive period of 6 years. The purpose of this exercise is to promote Sri Lankan companies, both listed and unlisted, as well as state-owned institutions, to practice integrated reporting, which will be beneficial to investors and other stakeholders. Although the audience is well aware of the evolution of integrated reporting, with the hope of emphasizing the importance of integrated reporting, let me briefly advert to the evolution of integrated reporting. Integrated reporting is somewhat new to many businesses, particularly in Sri Lanka, and it does not have a long history. There is still a degree of confusion amongst many as to the difference between integrated reporting and corporate reporting.
Ladies and gentlemen, traditionally corporate reporting took the form of annual reports with financial figures which was presented to the public by listed companies. Its major readers were the shareholders, the investing community, and the banks. Corporate reporting focused on financials, and the traditional financial reporting has a backward-looking focus, where the main thrust was on explaining the business as usual element of an organization. However, ladies and gentlemen, it was evident that emphasis on financial details only focused on short-term financial success, and that businesses may not have adequately dealt with medium and long-term benefits. This communication between the company and stakeholders was not good enough. Following the onset of the global financial crisis in 2007, created by an apparent overdependence on short-term financial factors rather than financial capital over long time scales, the need for a paradigm shift in reporting priorities was felt. Integrated reporting has been developed, ladies and gentlemen, to address this situation. Integrated reporting has been developed and promoted by the International Integrated Reporting Council, the IIRC, a global coalition of regulators, investors, companies, standard setters, the accounting profession, and non-governmental organizations. According to IIRC, ladies and gentlemen, an integrated report is a concise communication about how an organization's strategy, governance, performance, and prospects in the context of its external environment leads to the creation of value in the short, medium, and the long term. An integrated report, ladies and gentlemen, therefore, is one which contains both financial and non-financial information and demonstrates the link between an organization's strategy, governance, and financial performance, as well as the social, environmental, and economic context within which the entity operates. As you are aware, integrated reporting is mandatory for listed companies in some jurisdictions, such as South Africa and Brazil, whilst in the UK, USA, and Australia, it is only voluntary. Ladies and gentlemen, although there is no statutory or regulatory requirement in Sri Lanka for organizations to prepare integrated reports, it has been practiced voluntarily for some time now. It is encouraging, ladies and gentlemen, to note that almost all listed banks and insurance companies are following integrated reporting for some time. Also, large diversified conglomerates have been following integrated reporting in this country. Ladies and gentlemen, not so long ago, there was a perception in Sri Lanka that the size of an annual report was the benchmark for the quality of reporting. Some annual reports of listed companies ran into more than 400 pages. However, with the advent of integrated reporting, this perception has changed significantly. Although Sri Lankan companies initially found it difficult to present their information in a concise form, they have now managed to embrace this new phenomenon. It is in this regard that the efforts of CMA, ladies and gentlemen, has to be lauded. They have regularly conducted workshops on achieving excellence in integrated reporting and has also contributed in many other ways to popularize integrated reporting in this country. Over the past 5 years, an overwhelming number of companies, both quoted and unquoted, private as well as government institutions, have taken part in this competition organized by CMA, which, ladies and gentlemen, demonstrates that this competition is widely accepted by the Sri Lankan business community. Professor Vatawala, let me take this opportunity to congratulate you for conducting this competition for the past 6 years. And I take this opportunity to wish CMA Excellence in Integrated Reporting Awards all success in the future. And to those who have won the prizes in the different segments, my congratulations to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you too, Viraj, for helping us to differentiate corporate reporting and integrated reporting and showing what's what, and obviously one is better than the other. And it is heartening to note that in these past 5 years, there has been an increasing number of corporates in this country who have chosen to abide with that discipline of the integrated reporting. So it's not about the size, we were told. Now it's time to get closer to the presentation of the awards. But of course, we had an eminent panel, and those who served in that panel, we would like now to introduce to you the panel of technical evaluators, and there will be a list of names that will appear on the screen, and those are the individuals who were involved in that evaluation, the panel of technical evaluators. And next, we also have the panel of judges. And I think we are going to be presented with their names and images also on the screen. So we're very happy that we are able to see them. And we have, in a moment, the chairman of the panel of judges, who we will be linking with, and he is joining us from Singapore, where he resides and serves as the professor of accounting and associate provost for skills futures with the Singapore Institute of Technology. And he has had a great deal to do with the famous NUS as well. That's the National University of Singapore, where he served as a professor of accounting in that Institute of Learning. And he has been serving as the chairman of the panel of judges for the CMA Excellence in Integrated Reporting Awards ever since their inception in 2015. So he's certainly no stranger to us, Professor Ho Yuki, and he speaks to us, as I said, from Singapore.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the opportunity of being able to share this session with you. Let me put on the PowerPoint. All right, I hope you can see the PowerPoint. I hope it's in the presentation mode. Is it in presentation mode now?
Yes, very, very visible.
Good afternoon, Professor Lakshman Watawala, my distinguished judges and many distinguished guests. Thank you so much for the opportunity for me to be able to share.
I'm sorry, Professor. Sorry to disturb you. You are on presentation mode.
I am on, or am I not on? I am on. Is it all right? Can you see?
Yep, we're good now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right. So thank you very much for having me in this segment. What I'd like to do in the time that is given to me is to walk through with you the 6 years in terms of our experience in this CMA Excellence in Integrated Reporting Awards. Let me start from the beginning. In 2015, this award was created, and the purpose of the Excellence in IR Award comes in basically about 4 or 5 matters. There is to promote Sri Lankan companies, both listed and unlisted, and state-owned enterprises. And the thought pattern here is to encourage them to undertake integrated reporting, and with the thought pattern that it is to benefit the investors and stakeholders. Back now in 2020, you realize that the purpose have not changed much over the last 6 years. We have stayed the course, remaining faithful in our encouragement, wanting to promote the Sri Lankan companies, right? Whether they are listed or unlisted or state-owned, with the thought pattern to undertake integrated reporting, right? And with the thought pattern to benefit investors and stakeholders. I want you to take a note very carefully that the integrated reports were evaluated using the guidelines applicable to the IR framework issued in December 2013. And you realize that the timing is very close. Within 1 year, when the IR framework was issued, this award ceremony was created. It shows the progressiveness of CMA and the progressiveness of Sri Lanka in looking and being able to identify a worthy framework and to basically use this framework to help their companies to do better reporting and to give them a better understanding concerning the way they run their business. I'll show you later on what this means. This has been the participation in the company, all right, other than the COVID-19 in 2020. We were hoping very much that it will continue to grow on an exponential basis, or at least on a linear basis. We have probably covered about half of all the companies in the Colombo Stock Exchange, which publish the integrated reporting. And with this, I'd like to encourage more companies to use this platform to produce the integrated reporting and also to showcase it to the rest of the investing community. Let me give you the chart of the top 3 winners. I have gone back to the records and specifically identify the top 3 winners in the last 5 years. I shan't review the 2020 results here. In fact, one of the thought patterns that we had was that we probably have to create a special award for DMO. Otherwise, it will be very hard that there will be no number one other than DMO as it is, right? What we have found clearly too are the companies taking part and have showing the various compliance with the IR framework, and it gets better and better over time. So in looking at the top 3 winners, this is the tally where DMO has come in all the last 5 years as the top 3, followed closely by John Keells, LB Finance 3 times, and SoftLogic entered the top 3 once, and National Development Bank too. So if you put the top 3 and the top 10 together, this is basically the tally. And we want to strongly encourage Houghton National Bank, right? You have been top 10 in the last 5 ventures as it is. Although you have not entered top 3, we encourage you to continue, right, to work with us and continue to stay the course in entering this competition. The question we want to ask ourselves is, what have we gained over the last 6 years? I would like to suggest that these are the 4 major things I can think of where companies in Sri Lanka have gained. Number 1, they have a framework for integrated thinking and reporting. No longer do they have to search for a framework, or no longer do they have to worry too much about individual so-called differences between the companies. Now there is a consistent framework to allow companies to be compared and to be reported in the same manner. Much more important is the concept of integrated thinking. There's a conscious efforts to link value creation to the operations and then to communication, right? So in that sense, later on, I'll show you the chart that has been created over the last 6 years to represent this entire value creation chain. The next thing that has been that we have gained in over the years is showcasing the companies and the state-owned institutions to the investing public and community, right? You realize very much that these companies are very well run, very systematic, methodical, and having a framework to communicate clearly their value creations, the deployment of the 6 capitals to the investing public. I think the last bullet point I really must emphasize, particularly the work of Professor Graham Terry, right? That he has done training and we've done support for the IR in Sri Lanka, right? If you look at the many reports, after each competition, Professor Graham Terry will provide a summary concerning what are the lessons learned. And the interesting thought that we have found over time is that whatever he has shared with the people, those are reflected in the continuing improvement of the IR reports. So in a sense, the best-in-class training is provided to the companies, to the CFOs, to the management, to allow them to continue to evolve better and better in this IR. So let me show you some examples, right? So this is the 2015 and the 2020 stakeholders engagement, right? On the left-hand side, you realize it is very plain vanilla stakeholders engagement. By the time in 2020, the company actually provides a lot more succinct, pictorial, and a nicer way for them to represent the stakeholders engagement. So this is a famous diagram that I showcased even last year, right? The linking strategy, mission, vision, and value creation. It provides in a very pictorial manner, right, how business values are being created by linking the input to the output and the outcome, right? In what we have now, through the strategies embedded in the mission and vision to what we want to have in times to come. So these are shown, for example, in the reporting. So this is the business model of a company in 2015 in one of the reports that we have looked at in 2015, right? I put a dinosaur there in that sense that this will pale in comparison to what we have today. And this is why I've observed over the years, the very systematic progression and improvements in terms of the thinking process, the presentation process, the linking of the capital, the strategy, the mission, the vision, and ultimately answering the question, what values, what impact, what outcomes have we created for our stakeholders? Ladies and gentlemen, this is the 2020 model, right? And you realize that they are very different from the 2015 because it is a continuous improvement process. And in this particular business model, they even link the business down to the SDG goals as it is, right? Very clear thought pattern, inputs, activities, outputs, outcomes, and alignment with SDGs. This is another picture of a business model of Aiken Spence PLC, and it shows very clearly on the left-hand side, the capital, what we do and how we do it, the outputs and the outcomes. You see, by having the integrated reporting, you are almost creating a common language to allow the companies to sing songs with the same tune and frequency as it is, right? So it becomes a harmonious a song of value creation by the various companies in Sri Lanka. Let me show you, this is integrated thinking created through IR again, right? The business model. And this is another company that looks at the inputs, the business activities, the outputs, and the outcomes. In fact, this is one of the new company we have this year, Oxford Business School, right? Oxford Business School that basically produced this as a chart in terms of their integrated thinking on the business model in terms of value creation. The 6 capitals, as I mentioned previously, accountability. What gets measured and reported gets done, right? Because there is a reinforcing mechanism. And this is how the reporting is done in one of the companies in this year, right? Very clear outline concerning what pages cover which part of the capitals. On the left-hand side, you have the inputs, the 6 capital, the key activities, looking at the opportunities, the threats, the strengths, and the weaknesses, and output. And it did not stop at output. It went on forward to look at what are the impact in measurable quantitative terms, all right? Giving us the whole spectrum in terms of the value creation. Allow me to bring this short briefing to an end. I must say that I want to give special appreciations to the technical panelists, right? The technical panelists have to go through about 40, 50 reports every year to shortlist about 20 to 26 reports for the judges for the awards to look at, and then to do our homework. We usually spend about the whole Saturday afternoon, Saturday morning, and sometimes into lunchtime to look at the reports and to select the ultimate winners. In terms of we can never have done this job much better if not for the technical panelists who has given their inputs to help us to narrow down the reports down to about 20 companies where we're able to showcase the best of the IR reporting. I want to thank these technical specialists significantly, right, for all the help that they provided. In terms of the judges, I'd like to raise a few observations. I want to especially thank Mr. Raman, Professor Shamanti, I think Professor Graham Terry, and you have been with us ever since I think the competition was founded as it is, all right? And with Professor Maker joining us about 3 years ago. Your expert advice have made this award possible. And each time we always have a very robust discussion because all of us have very different views, right? And we look at companies with different lenses, and that is what makes the whole judging process extremely exciting. So let me finish by also voicing my special appreciation. I'd like to actually specially thank CMA and Professor Lakshman Watawala, right? It's because of your vision, it's because of your understanding, all right? Your vision of picking integrated reporting as a significant reporting device in which this award ceremony is created, all right? In which the companies in Sri Lanka are encouraged to submit their integrated reporting for recognition in terms of best reporting. All these are not possible without the support from the stock exchange and the corporate government and giants and all the participating companies. And whenever I'm in Sri Lanka for the last 5 years in this competition, the press has always provided front page cover, or significant coverage for this event. And that raised the profile of the companies, that raised the stature of Sri Lanka as a possible investment destination. Let me leave you with these thoughts, which I always hold with me, right? In terms of investment, a foreign investment strategy for Sri Lanka, the adoption and the systematic use of IR can propel companies in Sri Lanka to become world-class value creation enterprises. The world looks for a common language in which the company can signal in a credible manner their values. I'd like to believe that Sri Lanka, the stock exchange, hopefully the government, and also the investment community has chosen integrated reporting to be that vehicle. And I'd like to believe too that this is a vehicle that will leave the stature of Sri Lanka as an investment capital and also the companies into world-class value creation enterprises, right? So with this, I want to congratulate all the winners, all the participants for your hard work in integrated reporting, and I look forward to congratulating you again as we have the award ceremony. Thank you very much.
And we are most grateful to Professor Ho for injecting that degree of positivism with regard to businesses and corporates in this country and helping us to appreciate that there has been growth, improvement in this aspect of integrated reporting. So there's better understanding now and a level of finesse can be observed in the present time, and it can only improve, I guess. That's the idea. So thank you very much again for having brought forward to us this value addition that these awards bring. And thank you for your involvement these past 5 years. Also involved is Professor Graham Terry, of who we just heard mention made. He's a professor of practice at the University of Johannesburg, and his specialty, of course, is integrated reporting and integrated thinking. And he serves as an ambassador for the IIRC, that's the Council, the International Integrated Reporting Council. And he has been serving as a judge for the CMA Excellence in Integrated Reporting Awards, also for these past 5 years. So Professor Graham Terry is going to present to us a report on behalf of the judges.
Thank you very much for that kind introduction. Professor Watawala, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it's my great honor and privilege to deliver the judges' report for the 2020 CMA Excellence in Integrated Reporting Awards. This is a short overview of our findings. A longer version, together with examples, will be made available by the Institute in the near future. Firstly, I would like to congratulate Professor Watawala and the CMA Institute for running this competition and for all the work that they do to promote integrated reporting and thinking in Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka has become one of the most advanced countries in applying integrated reporting, and the CMA has done much to facilitate this. This year's entries can be divided into two categories: those prepared before the pandemic was understood and those prepared after the implications became apparent. As judges, we took into account when the reports were prepared and we assessed accordingly. Unfortunately, the pandemic affected the number of entries. This year, there were 28 as compared with over 50 last year. We are pleased to say that the quality of the reports of almost all the organizations that had previously submitted entries improved, and some quite considerably. In each of the previous years, we criticized the length of Sri Lankan integrated reports. Whilst we believe that many are still too long, we saw on average a 20% decrease in the length of reports this year. This is a great step forward, and we commend entrants for the steps they have taken to eliminate unnecessary material. We encourage you to continue your efforts to purge unnecessary material in the future. Maybe it is because of the pandemic, but we found that more organizations really seem to understand the concept of value creation this year. They were able to describe their value creation story in a clear and concise language. It was almost as if the reports had come alive. We also found that more organizations are embracing integrated thinking, and some even describe how they are embedding integrated thinking in their DNA. As a result of this growing understanding, we found that the content elements of reports connected and flowed more easily. And quite honestly, many reports were a joy to read. For example, instead of presenting lengthy and generalized discussions about operational context, many organizations focused on the key factors that affected their organization's value creation and connected them with material items, risks and opportunities, their capital management review, and to strategy. Integrated reports should provide information that enables stakeholders to make assessments about the ability of the organization to create value in the short, medium, and long term. Unfortunately, organizations in Sri Lanka are reluctant to look beyond the short term. However, for the first time this year, we saw some organizations addressing the short, medium, and long term, which is a significant step forward, and we commend these organizations. Organizations often say in this volatile world, they cannot predict the future, so it is fruitless to think beyond the short term. We disagree. In challenging times, it is even more important to try to understand the future and prepare your organization for it. You might not be able to make exact predictions, but you can look at different scenarios and be prepared for them if they arise. By being prepared for different scenarios, organizations can embrace events with more agility and gain competitive advantage. So far as the integrated report is concerned, if organizations can show that they are thinking about and are equipping themselves to address different futures, it is likely to raise stakeholders' confidence in the organization. One of the guiding principles used in the preparation of an integrated report is stakeholder relationships. The International Integrated Reporting Framework suggests that organizations should provide insight into the nature and quality of relationships with the organization's key stakeholders. The quality of relationships can affect future value creation hugely. In the past, many organizations gave detailed information about stakeholders and what they were doing for them, but avoided discussion about the quality of relationships. This year, we saw a handful of reports discussing the quality of relationships, which needs to be encouraged. Organizations may be reluctant to disclose this information because it is sensitive, or relationships may not be at the desired level. However, we believe it is far better to disclose this information and to describe what is being done to enhance the relationships. It is pleasing to see a change in emphasis in the provision of governance information. In past years, many organizations took a textbook approach to governance rather than describing what the board was doing to support value creation. More organizations are dispensing with their lengthy reports on compliance, which only serve to distract the reader from the key essence of the report. Similarly, we commend organizations for reducing the length of board and management curriculum vitae and focusing rather on summarized skills, tenure, and diversity, which is more useful in assessing the collective competence of the leadership. We were pleased to see an improvement in the presentation of business and value creation models. More organizations seem to understand the difference between outputs and outcomes, and they focused on capital outcomes, which is the objective of presenting the model, rather than stakeholder outcomes. In most cases, these capital outcomes are expanded on in the capital management review. One of the areas which Sri Lankan organizations excel at is how they build the UN Sustainable Development Goals into strategy. This year, again, we saw more organizations adapting their strategy to take into account relevant Sustainable Development Goals. There is little point in setting out an organization's strategy if the organization does not show how it is going to resource it. Some organizations do this well, but we would like to see more organizations focusing on strategic resource allocations. You may have noticed in recent years that a number of organizations around the world are adding a defined purpose to their vision, mission, and values. The purpose is different from the mission, vision, and values. It encompasses not only the organization's mission, but it also takes into account the organization's broader obligations to society. It provides direction to the leadership and becomes a motivating source for the organization. It is the North Star in troubled times. Indeed, the pandemic has required many organizations to adjust their business models and the way in which they operate. The statement of purpose has assisted some of these organizations to find their new direction. In our review, we noticed 2 or 3 Sri Lankan organizations adopting a purpose statement, and we believe others will find this useful if they do so in the future. One of the guiding principles in integrated reporting is reliability and completeness. It is important for integrated reports to present information in a balanced manner, and positive and negative issues should be presented in an unbiased way. From my perspective, if an integrated report focuses only on positive issues, alarm bells begin ringing. All organizations face challenges, and if they are papered over, trust in the organization is eroded. Organizations sometimes think they can avoid mentioning negative issues in their report, but inevitably they will surface, and then the matter can become even more serious because it has been suppressed. We believe organizations are achieving a better balance now, and some of the hyperbole has been toned down. One of the ways in which reliability can be enhanced is for the board to demonstrate its responsibility for the integrity of the report. Each year, we see more boards making a statement of responsibility, and in some cases, these statements are signed by all the members of the board. For board members to make such a statement, they will need to pay attention to the report content and review it diligently. This adds much to the confidence of the reader. Executive remuneration is a sensitive area in most countries, as it is in Sri Lanka. Many organizations around the world and in Sri Lanka link their executive remuneration purely to financial outcomes. However, if organizations are serious about value creation, surely they should align at least part of their package to broader value creation. We have commented on this each year, and it is pleasing to see a change in remuneration policies in some reports. We hope others will follow this trend. We saw several organizations making serious efforts to improve the quality of their outlook information. It is helpful to the reader if the organization's leadership provides an honest and transparent assessment of the organization's outlook. Outlook is affected by factors that are within the control of the organization and some beyond its control. Identification of those factors beyond the control of the organization is helpful to the reader of the report. Some foreign reports provide sensitivity analyses with the disclosure, which assists the reader to understand the extent to which matters such as changes in exchange rates can be absorbed by the organization. We encourage organizations to explore ways in which outlook information can be improved further. Before ending, I would like to make a comment about state institutions. Currently, we only receive applications from state banks. We would like to encourage other state institutions to apply as well, as this will not only promote better and more timely reporting, but also it would contribute to strategic focus and value creation for society and other stakeholders. On behalf of the panel of judges, I would like to congratulate all the organizations that submitted their reports for consideration this year. It has been a very difficult year, and you are to be lauded for continuing with your efforts to enhance your reports. We believe that whilst you have expensed time and money in preparing your reports, you will have benefited from the exercise. We believe that as organizations travel on this journey to enhance their reports and refine their integrated thinking, they derive huge value for their businesses. In difficult times, the knowledge and expertise gained over the years assist them with the tough decisions that have to be made. Also, on behalf of the panel of judges, I congratulate the award winners. You have done a fine job. We encourage you to continue on your journey to improve your reports in the future. Organizations around the world can learn much from your understanding and implementation of integrated reporting and thinking. Thank you.
Thank you very much for a finely drafted report from the judges as presented by Professor Graham Terry. It was most encouraging to hear the details that you were able to focus on, and no doubt those that heard the report will want to do what they can to keep on improving. Now we are going to focus on the awards for 2020. Now we begin with the certificates of merit. And this is being presented in no particular order, save for alphabetical order. And I'll be happy to read out the names. The actual presentation will not be conducted physically in the space that we're in. But even as I read out the names, the screen will focus on the specific entities who are the recipients. So as I said, we proceed in alphabetical order. Certificates of merit awarded to Access Engineering PLC, followed by the Association of Accounting Technicians of Sri Lanka. The Bank of Ceylon comes next. Then DFCC Bank PLC. DIP Products PLC. Alpitia Plantations PLC. Then HNB Assurance PLC. Lanka IOC PLC, then Oxford College of Business Private Limited, and the People's Bank. That's a list of certificates of merit. And now we proceed to the presentation of the sector awards. And that will be done in loco, and we will be inviting the presenters to come. So we would like to invite Mr. Hennayaka Bandara in his capacity as Vice President to be present, along with Mr. Rajiva Bandaranayaka of the Colombo Stock Exchange, and of course Professor Lakshman Watawala will also be on hand as we proceed with the presentation. So as we read out the names, the recipients will be ushered in. In the banking sector, the award is to the National Development Bank PLC, NDB. They are not present on this occasion, but of course counted that they are presented with that award. The next sector, finance and leasing. The award is to People's Leasing and Finance PLC. Well done, and our congratulations. There's the award and the certificate as well. The trophy and the certificate, I should have said, yeah. Our next sector happens to be insurance. And the award is to People's Insurance PLC. Here again, we have the certificate in addition to the trophy. And our next sector happens to be Diversified Holdings. And the award is received by John Keels Holdings PLC. Wonderful. Now our next sector is state-owned enterprises and or companies. The award is to NSB, the National Savings Bank. State-owned enterprises and or companies. We move to the next sector, which is plantations. And the recipient, Albedia Plantations PLC. Small and medium enterprises is our next sector, and the award is to Oxford College of Business Private Limited. Small and medium enterprises, which allows us to move to our next sector now, education sector. The award is to the AAT, Association of Accounting Technicians of Sri Lanka. Wonderful. That's leaving us now with the final sector award, manufacturing industry. It's to Dipped Products PLC. Dip Products. I spoke too soon. We have two more. We have construction industry as our next sector. Access Engineering PLC. And now to our final sector, which happens to be power and energy. The award is to Lanka IOC PLC. Well, on this occasion, they are not present, but we say thank you very much to our presenters. And we move on now, and thank you very much. I do believe that Rajiva will stay on for our next special award. And thank you, Mr. Hennayaka Bandara. But now we would like to invite President's Council Viraj Dayaratna to please come over, the chairman of the SEC. So special awards recognizes certain qualities with regard to the presentation of the integrated reports submitted to the panel of judges. So there are several features or categories here as well for the special awards. We start off with conciseness. And the special award for conciseness is to Diesel and Motor Engineering PLC. Then comes capitals, and the special award is to NDB, the National Development Bank PLC, who are on this occasion not present physically here, but of course it will be handed to them in due course. Now we come to another quality, materiality. And with regard to that, we have Oxford College of Business Private Limited, who are the recipients. Materiality. Best disclosure of materiality. Done. Now, our next special award is taking into account value creation. And it is to be awarded to NSB, the National Savings Bank. Best disclosure on value creation. Wonderful. Now, strategic focus is up next, and the award is to John Keels Holdings PLC. Strategic focus. And our final special award takes into account integrated thinking, of which we have had much spoken earlier. The award is to Diesel and Motor Engineering PLC. Thank you. Wonderful. Thank you very much. Now we have our presenters continuing, I think. Yes, indeed. So we are now with the 10 best integrated reports. And we have the final top 3 awarded just after we pass through our list for now. So here we are, the 10 best integrated reports. And this too is in alphabetical order. Aitken Spence PLC among the 10 best integrated reports. So here too we have a trophy and a certificate. Aitken Spence done. We have Selinco Life Insurance Limited. So with the letter C, as we call Commercial Bank of Ceylon PLC. Also in the top 10, Diesel and Motor Engineering PLC. And then Hatton National Bank PLC. Followed by John Keels Holdings PLC. Next is National Development Bank PLC, or NDB. And of course, as we've mentioned a few times before, they're unable to be present physically right now. So we move to NSB, National Savings Bank. Also in the top 10 best integrated reports. Followed by People's Insurance PLC. And then comes People's Leasing and Finance PLC. Then Soft Logic Life Insurance PLC. And so concluding the top 10 is the letter U and Union Assurance PLC. And there we are. We have the top 10. Now to the top 3 we refer to as second runner-up, the first runner-up, and finally the overall winner. Second runners-up, it's a twofer, which means it's a shared honor to John Keel's Holdings PLC and NSB, National Savings Bank. So we'll start with the letter J, and John Keel's Holding PLC, second runner-up. So that's our bronze award, second runner-up, John Keel's Holdings PLC. And so, as we said, it's a shared honor. The bronze is to NSB as well, National Savings Bank. Joint second runners-up. Now first runner-up happens to be National Development Bank PLC, or NDB. Sadly, not present on this occasion to accept it physically, which leaves us now with the overall winner. Overall winner. I might even use the phrase once again, DEMO, Diesel and Motor Engineering PLC. That's our gold award to Diesel and Motor Engineering PLC. The overall winner. Thank you very much, we say to all of our presenters, and we'll invite them to resume their places. So, before we move to the conclusion of our very fruitful event, the CMA Best Integrated Reporting Awards for 2020, we would like to hear from our overall winner. So we are very pleased to invite Mr. Gahanath Panditagay, who's present here with us and accepted the award for and on behalf of DEMO, and he will now address our audience, present and virtual.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I would like first to thank CMA, led by Professor Vatawala, for recognizing DEMO for the efforts that we have made in communicating our value creation story. We acknowledge and appreciate the role played by CMA in encouraging organizations to adopt integrated reporting and providing assistance. I would also like to thank the panel of judges for recognizing our efforts in integrated reporting. Being recognized by a panel of judges who are thorough with the principles of integrated reporting is of great value to us. At DEMO, we promote a culture where each employee and management consider all elements that facilitate value creation and their connectivity with each other when making decisions. Articulating to this thinking into a report is what integrated reporting is about. Continuous recognition we have been receiving for our integrated report prove that our thinking indeed is in the right track. And also, integrated reporting emphasizes the need to report future-oriented information in an annual report. In fact, stakeholders want an annual report that helps to make decisions about the future and not merely analysis what happened in the past. Last but not least, I must appreciate our DEMO staff, or the tribe, what we call, for all the members who have done this integrated report. And I must say that you're exceptional set of people at DEMO who does this. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, too, and congratulations once again. And you also win an award for conciseness for concluding acceptance remarks. And now, indeed, we have concluding remarks formally presented for and on behalf of the organizers of this event, CMA Sri Lanka. And we would like to invite the Vice President of CMA, a former General Manager and CEO of the NSB, or National Savings Bank, who was also served as a President of the Association of Professional Bankers of Sri Lanka, and served as a Director of the NSB Fund Management Company as well. And interestingly, served also as a Director of World Savings Banks Institute, representing the region, Asia Pacific. Currently is an Advisory Council member of APB, Sri Lanka, and also is a Director of different organizations, in particular Prime Finance PLC and K Seeds Investments Private Limited. Mr. Hennayaka Bandara, we hand over proceedings to him, and he will conclude the formality of this event.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. All our foreign dignitaries had the opportunity of enjoying the hospitality of our motherland together with all of us during the past 5 years when we had our IR awards ceremony.
Nevertheless, COVID-19 paved the way for us to have this year's ceremony online, creating yet another opportunity. With that note, I am pleased to deliver the words of appreciation to recognize the valuable contribution made by those who have involved in numerous ways for the successful completion of CMA Excellence in Integrated Reporting Awards 2020. On behalf of CMA, first of all, I would like to thank the keynote speaker, Mr. John Stanhope, Deputy Chairman, IIRC, and Chancellor, Deakin University, Melbourne, Australia, so graciously consenting to be the keynote speaker on this important occasion. We are aware that Mr. John had to make many sacrifices to join with us. Thank you, sir, for honoring us with your participation. Let me also thank Mr. Viraj Dayaratne, President Council, Chairman, Security and Exchange Commission, for sharing your valuable inputs. I'm sure you will be a tower of strength to our institute in promoting and making aware of the importance of integrating reporting amongst all companies in Sri Lanka. Our special thanks to Mr. Zia Mustafa, President SAFA, Head of Regional Body of Accounting Fraternity, for honoring our invitation to address us. It is very significant that we have with us today Professor Mervyn King, Chair Emeritus of the IIRC. We thank you for readily including our event in your busy itinerary and honoring us with your address. Let me also thank Chairman Panel of Judges, Professor Ho, Associate Professor, Singapore Institute of Technology. You have always been a source of encouragement to our institute and look forward to your continued support in the future as well. I also would like to thank Mr. Rajiva Bandaranaike, Chief Executive Officer, Colombo Stock Exchange, supporting partner for Integrated Reporting Awards, for your participation and valuable inputs provided. And also Professor Graham Terry, Ambassador for the IIRC, for presenting the report of panel of judges. Let me also thank all other judges, evaluators, for the valuable input provided to improve the quality of reporting, their commitment, and the technical expertise shared. While congratulating all award winners, let me thank all companies and other organizations who participated for IR Awards competition and your participants to witness the event and to receive the awards. My special thanks to our President, Professor Lakshman Vatawala, giving the leadership and guidance to the Council as well as the entire staff of CMA, and also the Secretariat of CMA, CMA team, and all others who have provided the logistical support. Finally, let me thank all our members and participants for honoring our invitation. Your valued participation has no doubt contributed largely to the success of today's award ceremony. Thank you. Take care. Stay safe. Good night. Thank you, Arun. Over to you.
Well, that concludes the CMA Excellence in Integrated Reporting Awards for 2020.